I would have liked a lot more from that book. Not necessarily as good for humankind. And I can hear you saying, Esmay, did you really reread it again? Hello lovely bookworms, I'm Esmay from Paradise Pages on Instagram and also on Twitter, and welcome to a new video. Today it is actually already nearly September and I thought I would do a wrap up. The thing is, I read a total of 4-ish books in August, so I thought I would do a wrap up of multiple books because I don't think I've done a wrap up in a long time, so I thought it would be fun to do, and I'm gonna do that while I'm doing my makeup, hence why I look so very barefaced. So without further ado, let's just get into it. I'm gonna see approximately where I was. I don't think I ever even talked about what I did for for the DESERTATHON, so I'm gonna start there. I might talk way too much because it usually takes me quite a while to do my makeup. Well, not quite a while, it depends on if I take the time to do my makeup or not, and today is one of those days where I have the time because I'm filming. Oh, I forgot to wet my sponge. I'll be back. Alright, so we're back. I feel like we're also a little bit less saturated. Sponge is wet. I use this for my foundation. But the first thing I'm going to do is I usually start with the base. I don't know. Other people start with the eyes. I start with the base. For the base, I use the NYX Honey Do Me Up, which is entirely Laura's fault. Thank you, Laura, for introducing me to this glorious product. I've been meaning to buy it for a long time, and then Laura actually had it, and I was like, you need to try, and he likes it a lot. But coming back to books, I was very busy with my studies and also sort of working at the same time because I am still working, but I also at that point was working at the same time as I was finishing up my thesis and finishing up my studies, and I read books left and right kind of. So the first book that I want to talk about is The Hunt for Atlantis by Andy McDermott. It follows a professor, I think her name was Nina, hence why I was drawn to it, of course. And she basically goes to university to ask for funding to try and find the lost city of Atlantis. And in order to do so, she has to do this pitch, and then she is rejected. But people have found interest in her work and want to fund her, and there's also people just trying to sabotage the lot. And I thought it was such an interesting book. I love those kinds of Indiana Jones trying to find the treasure type books. They just really, I don't know, I just really enjoy them. They just sit well with me or something, I don't know, it's good to digest. I think I gave this one 4 stars because I personally, when I read those kinds of stories, I prefer the protagonists to be able, in the sense that they know how to shoot, they know how to go about their business, they're not scared of anything, kind of. And with this, our main protagonist is very much an academic, and I can accept that and I can enjoy that, but she was not the type of protagonist who would do everything herself. She needed other people to save her, which there's nothing wrong with that, but with those type of stories, I personally enjoy it when they don't need other people. That's just me. So that was the first book I read. I think I gave it about 3 stars. It's a third person, and it's sometimes a bit, how would you say it, a little bit too much, in the sense where you kind of like, really, you had to go there. But other than that, I did really enjoy it, so there's that. I then reread a book. I reread The Prison Healer because I wanted to, because this was at the point where I was nearly done with my thesis, or I was done, I'm not completely sure, immediately go into The Gilded Cage, because the final book, The Blood Traitor, I think it's Blood Traitor? Yeah, The Blood Traitor had just come out, so I wanted to immediately dive into those, and then continue and finish the trilogy. Spoiler alert, did not happen. But I did really enjoy rereading it. I think it was just as good the second time around. It is your typical YA, it feels like. But on the other hand, I just feel like this is such an interesting and cool story that I didn't really mind that at all. I don't know, it sat well with me, and it was easy to digest. I think the story is very original. I really loved, I don't know, the twists seemed very twisty and not expected, which is really nice. And I personally can't wait to dive into the second book. It is actually, I have moved my TBR cart, which I've never shown you, but I have a TBR cart, which was actually on my right side here, but it is now on my left side, and it's in there, so I am definitely going to read that soon, hopefully, but we'll see. I'm gonna quickly finish off the base makeup, in the sense that I want to finish off my foundation, and then I will be back talking with you. Alright, then I'm gonna move on to the eyes, because I'm not gonna finish off the base with powder and all of that until I have the eyes done. I like this blender so much. It was very cheap. I actually got it as a gift, and then I repurchased it. So there's that. Then I'm gonna go in with an eyeshadow primer. This is the Milani eyeshadow primer, just the regular one. I also have a glitter primer, but that one's a lot more sticky, so I can't really do mattes on top of that. So I've gotten myself a new primer, and the Milani one had good reviews, so I thought I would test it out, and so far I am impressed. I am impressed. I love it. I've been using it for, I would say, about a month. It gives you a nice solid base. It blends well. It lasts, because that was my issue with eyeshadow lately, is that in the morning it looks stunning, and then at night it just creases so badly. So that's my eyeshadow base. I will let that sit a little bit, personally. I just do that, I let it dry. And in the meantime, I will do my eyebrows. So the next book I read was actually The Traitor Heir by Daniel L. Jensen, which was the final book in the Bridge Kingdom duology. I say final, but it's the final one in the story of Laura and... I forgot his name. That's how bad it is. I didn't really enjoy the second book. The Bridge Kingdom is one of my absolute favorites of the year. I really, really enjoyed it. And the second one just kind of fell flat, in the sense where you have these duologies that have amazing, like an amazing premise, and then the second one just does not deliver. And it was the same thing for this book with me, because I loved the bits with her sisters and sort of the strife in this book. I won't say too much because of spoilers, no worries. But also there's a desert bit in here, which I really, really enjoyed. I think I was supposed to read it for DESERTATHON as well. I didn't, but I was supposed to. But in general, I don't know, I missed a little bit of extra oomph, if that makes sense. Like, I would have liked a bit more of something and a little bit less. It was so predictable as well, which was sad. What I liked about the first one was how unpredictable it kind of was. In one sense, not the other. There was also certain stuff that you're like easy to spot from a mile away, but it's that kind of, I can see the accident happening, but I can do nothing to stop it kind of thing, and it was heartbreaking. But the second one just kind of fell flat for me. I would have liked a lot more from that book, but sadly it did not deliver. Then this was actually, I think, just before the period where it got really, really hectic with my thesis and all of that. So that was basically the period where I wanted books that I could, if I wanted to read, I could read, but didn't really need that much brain space for, if that makes sense. So the book that I then read was How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories. It was definitely a book that was perfect for the time I was reading it, because it was so easy to digest. it was also such a book that really, how do you even say it, that just works really well when you want to read a little bit and not have to think about it too much. The stories itself were heartbreaking but very amazing to read. I really enjoy the writing in general of that book, and I loved seeing a little bit more into Carden's head. So I think I gave that one 4 stars. Really interesting, really appreciated it, and yeah. So for eyeshadow, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nouveau palette. I think I showed you this in my last reading vlog, or at least a reading vlog. And I think I'm going to do a green look, but I think I'm going to also use a metal eyeshadow, which is this beautiful, beautiful green. So after that, after I've read How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories, I wanted to keep in that I want to read something that is quick, easy, don't have to think about too much. So I decided, you know what the best course of action is? Rereading. And I can hear you saying, Esmay, did you really reread it again? No, I did not read The Wrath of the Dawn again. But what I did reread was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This book is one that I first read in Dutch. That's how long ago it is. I think the first time I read it, I was about, it could have been 13 or 14, because I remember borrowing these books from someone back then, and I don't know, I just really, really enjoyed them. So it was high time that I reread them. I have read them in English before, but it's been quite a while, and the copies that I have are absolutely stunning. I got them from Femke, and I don't know, they're just so stunning, and I was so excited to read them again. So I read the first book. I think it is such, like, they're such good stories, and I feel like they are quite underrated because of they're very, very impressive, and especially the second one, but the first one as well. They're quite brutal as well for young adult. There's things happening in there where you're like, I mean, the fact alone that they're killing each other, kids kill each other because of a game that the government basically puts up on you, already says enough. But yeah, I did really, really enjoy reading it again, and I don't really change ratings when I reread, so it's still on 5 stars. Would I give it 5 stars now if I read it for the first time? I am not completely sure, but I love it that much that at this point I don't really care. So I'm gonna go into I basically went into the shade Metro, by the way, for the edge, and then I'm gonna go into Paloma with my finger and apply that as a bit of a base for the liquid shadow I'm gonna apply on top. Then next up, I was still in that period of wanting to read books that weren't as difficult, so that's what I did, and I read the other 2 short stories in the Steminist. I think it's a trilogy. So I read Stuck With You and Below Zero by Ellie Hazelwood. The first one I had at that point already read, but these 2 were, I think the last one was just out, so I read those. Stuck With You was such a big letdown for me. I expected so much more, especially after loving the first one so much, that it was just heartbreaking. Let me do this and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up the eyes in a little bit. They're very green, but I'm gonna let it set for a little bit. So I'm gonna go into the rest of my base first. And first and foremost, I need some stuff for the eyebrows. This is just a gel that I use to set it. It was a clear gel, but it's no longer that clear anymore. This is by Boozy Shop, by the way. It's an online store here, and it does those things well. So that was, oh, I was talking about Stuck With You. So that one was a big letdown. I just didn't really enjoy, they were like stuck in an elevator and it was just way too short. And I know it's a short story, but I like short stories that say a bit more, if that makes sense. And then after that, I read Below Zero, which is one that I really enjoyed. It's like an Arctic kind of setting, but there's also a lot more that happens in that story, it feels like. Also, the fact that at the end all three of the sort of couples come together is really nice. I did really enjoy that last one. I think I gave that one 4 stars. I think it's also my favorite of the 3, so that was nice. Then, still being in that sort of situation of wanting to, how do you say it? Read books that weren't that difficult. I read The Never King by Nikki St. Crow, I think. And that is very much an intense story, let me say that, because it's very spicy. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's very spicy. And I don't mind spicy books at all, but this one I just didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really like what they did with the Lost Boy and with Peter, and just in all the story. I don't know. I skipped quite a couple, well, didn't skip, but I read it because I just wanted to, ooh, powder everywhere, oopsie. I just wanted to finish it, if that makes sense. I just wanted to be done with it. So, I think I gave that one 3 stars. It was still okay. It wasn't my type of book, so I gave it 3 stars. Next up, I read 3 of the 4 Four Horsemen books. So I read Pestilence, Famine, and War. I think War is, or is Famine the 3rd one? I read those 3. Loved them. I like the grumpy turns nice kind of books. I still have to read the final one, which is Death. And I'm very, very excited for it. But I haven't yet. I haven't picked it up because there's other books that I've prioritized, and then I didn't really read that much in the last couple of weeks. So, oh, I love those ones. I think the first one's Pestilence, then you get Famine, and then you get, no, War's the second one. So you get Pestilence, War, and Famine. I think I preferred War. I really liked that one, though I feel like the first one's also great. I love them all. And they're spicy books, and there's a lot of stuff in there that's quite problematic and not necessarily as good for humankind. But, I don't know, I just really, really enjoyed it. So, yeah, that's that. Those were also books that were just easier to read, if that makes sense. And I just really, really needed those at that point in my life, so that was also nice. Maybe I can put it on my TBR for GREEKGODATHON, which is coming up. We're very excited about. You should have already at this point seen the announcement. If so, I will try and link it down below. Hopefully. But I loved it. I loved it. So that was really good. Then I actually have a couple more books to talk about. I need to hurry up with my makeup, otherwise I'll just put you in a loop and you can see the rest of it quite quickly. Okay, camera cut out, so I'm sorry if it changed a little bit. So then I continued on with my reread, because that was on my TBR at the time. And that was to read Catching Fire. I really, really like Catching Fire. I think Catching Fire is my favorite out of the trilogy. I think the movie is just as good, and I think they just did that so well. Like that is just a cinematic masterpiece, and you just can't convince me otherwise. It is so good. So I really enjoyed that. Again, haven't changed the rating because I generally don't when I reread, because at one point it was that amount of stars for me. So, oh, I like that. I'm using a pop of color in the middle and then sort of blending. Little pop of color. This is the color Wings, by the way, the one on this side. I really want to test out the pink, but I don't know, or the purple, the lilac-y one, but I don't know what to do. So I think that's my eyes done. But yeah, I read Catching Fire, really, really enjoyed it. Then we got the final 2 books I read were both short stories, and those are for the Crazy Cat Lady readathon. And the first one I read was When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain, which I really enjoyed. I listened to it actually when I went to the gym, and it was such an enjoyable story. It is such an interesting story, and I like anything that has lore in it. especially when it's Chinese or anything along those lines. Well, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do my eyeliner first and then I will be back. Alright, so eyeliner is done. I use a brown liner because I feel like it's a bit more natural. In general, I use a brown liner, so brown liner. Where was I? Right, When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain. So I really like stories that have quite a bit of lore in it, because I feel like it adds so much to a story. It just feels a lot more alive, but also I'm not sure if these is real lore, but I don't know, I just really enjoy stories that do that because it creates an extra dimension to your story, and I just think it's beautiful. Also, listening to this was a good choice because the narrator was very enjoyable to listen to, and also it wasn't that long. I think it was about an hour, 2, because I listened to it on 2 times speed, but it was about an hour, and it was an hour well spent. I really enjoyed it as I was running on a treadmill. So yeah, it was a good choice. That said, if you want to test out Scribd, I actually have a link for you down below where you get 60 days free. I also get 30 days free, so it's like a win-win situation is what it is. And if you want to test out some audiobooks, they have a lot, which is nice, and I like the fact that you basically just pay monthly and there's no other additional costs to certain books or services or whatever. So I really enjoy that. So that was that. And then actually the final one that I still have to talk about, I think I'm gonna leave that for a bit and put you in a loop so that I can do my makeup and finish off my makeup, and then I will be back to talk about the final book that I read, which was quite a while ago already. And then I think I'll just mention the book I'm currently reading. So yeah, let's put you in a loop and I'll be right back. 2, 3, 4. Don't know how it's 5 AM again. One too many episodes of Friends. Stupid boys got me rereading texts. Though it makes me sick, I can't seem to quit the adrenaline. Wasting my youth in. Okay, so I have one more final step, which is my setting spray. I use this one by Revolution. I haven't really found one that I'm completely obsessed with. This one does the job, but it stinks. I'm sorry, but it stinks. So there's that. Speaking of the final book that I read, that is, what was it called? The Tiger Came to the Mountains, which again I read for the Crazy Cat Lady readathon, which was during the weekend. I had one day off, so I decided to read shorter books. And that one was just as fun. It was even shorter than the one I had already read, so it wasn't that sort of huge and big impact on my life. But I did really enjoy it, and I think I gave it 3 or 4 stars. It's definitely within that region. It wasn't mind-blowing, but it was definitely good and enjoyable. So there's that. And with that, I am done with my makeup. I think it worked out real well. I really like it. So I'm definitely going to film a video in a little bit. Can't let this makeup go to waste now, can I? And yeah, I hope you've liked this type of wrap-up. I think I'm going to try and get back to regular wrap-ups if I read enough, because that's the big issue with me. I don't read that much. So, at least, well, I read quite a bit, but just not at the moment. I also were looking at firing back up the book club, so that is coming in October, and just great things ahead. So in September we have GREEKGODATHON. I'm not sure when this video will go live, but yeah, I'm so excited for what is to come. I hope you've enjoyed this type of video. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so you get post notifications every single time that we post, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!